Are you looking to figure out the trajectory or drop on your current deer rifle or long range rifle? Maybe you're trying to build a dope card for that next deer hunt or elk hunt, or you're trying to compare a couple of rifles that you have and figure out the differences between them at long range. Stick with me and I'll show you a free website that I use to figure all that stuff out. Alright, in order to build yourself a dope card or figure out the trajectory or bullet drop of your current rifle or rifles, you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need a few pieces of information, and some of them are pretty easy to find. Some of them you might have to do a little bit of digging online. You're going to need to know your bullet weight, the grain weight, the G1 BC or ballistic coefficient, drag coefficient of that bullet, your sight over bore, which is the center line of your bore to the center line of your scope, and muzzle velocity. So I'll show you how I do it, whether it's box ammunition or doing some hand loads. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is figure out the grain weight. In hand loaders, you know, when you buy your box of bullets, you're looking for a specific grain weight. It's going to be in this case for a 30 cal for the 300 WSM, it's going to be the 165 grain SSTs. You're buying box ammunition, 139 or whatever the weight is on the box of ammunition you buy. Next thing we're going to look at is muzzle velocity, and on a lot of the factory ammunition nowadays, they post the muzzle velocity right on there. Just remember that this is usually using a 24-inch barrel, and a lot of the guns or rifles that you purchase, your Tikkas, your Remingtons, a lot of them are going to have a 20 or 22-inch barrel, so just know that that velocity might be slightly higher than what you actually have. Next, you're going to want to do your sight over bore or your sight height, and what I like to do, so get a little steel ruler like this, and I like to measure from the center of that exhaust port, or that center of that port, to the center line of my scope rings. And these scope rings are not tightened down, but if they were, I like to take that little steel, get that out of the way, get that steel ruler out of there, stretch out my caliper and measure from the center of that hole and touch it up to the edge of that ruler. And that'll give me my dimension. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so I'll take better measurements of that later. So lastly, we're going to find the ballistic coefficient. Some boxes of ammunition post the BC of the bullet on here, or sorry, some boxes of bullets will post that, and most likely your box of ammunition will not show that. So that's where this information comes in handy. I'm going to go to the website of whatever bullet manufacturer. So in this case, Hornady. You can look up the Hornady American Whitetail, find out that it's a 139 grain interlock bullet, and you can find that in 7mm on their website. It'll give you the G1 BC. Same thing with this, you just look up rifle bullets on their website. Whether it's Berger, Sierra, they all should be able to find all that information if they don't post it on the box. But I'll show you how to do that on their website, looking for specific bullets specifically.
Alright, here we are on the Hornady website. I'm going to be looking for that ballistic coefficient for that 30 caliber 165 SST bullet that I'm using out of the 300 short mag. So come over here to Hornady, go to bullets, rifle, and it will bring you to this page. Find your rifle bullet, so select your caliber. I already pre-selected mine, 30 caliber. The product line, since Hornady offers a wide variety of 30 caliber bullets, I sorted down to the one that I purchased, which is the SST, and it brings out these 5 different bullets. And in my case, I have that 165 SST with a G1 of .447. So now that you've gathered all of your information, we're going to come over here to shooterscalculator.com, a free website. It's a great website, honestly. You can calculate ballistic trajectory, kinetic energy, your max point blank range. If you watch any of Ron Spalmer's stuff, he talks about this a lot. It's a good tool. And you can calculate recoil. Recoil takes a little bit more harder to find information, so I tend to stay away from that one a little bit. But today we're going to focus on ballistic trajectory, because we're going to A, have the capability to build out a dope card, or B, compare different bullet weights and muzzle velocities in the same gun, or you can compare two different guns that you have. You can do multiple charts. You can do one on your 6.5 Creedmoor versus 270 versus 308, however you want to do it. But for today's purposes, we're going to take a look at my 300 WSM and the 165 gram bullet that I've selected, and build out a little dope chart or a graph based off of the information we took. So off the Hornady website, we have a .447 with our G1BC is .447, so we enter that, the bullet weight we've selected, and based off some chronograph data that I collected, I averaged 3,035 feet per second. I zeroed it at 100 yards, and the measurement that I took from my center of bore to center of scope, or scope height, or sight over bore height, however people want to call that, came up with 1.95 inches. I'm removing the shooting angle, the wind speed, and the wind angle. It's not of any concern right now. We're literally just trying to get a drop chart going, or a dope chart. The other thing I like to do, if you're going on a hunt, I would definitely do correct for atmosphere. My altitude's roughly this. When I deer hunt, it's roughly 35 degrees or colder, sometimes a little warmer, but generally colder. Barometric pressure is always around 28 to 30 inches. I don't think that's too big of a concern, and 50% relative humidity. But if you're going hunting out west or something, I would definitely consider adjusting that, or getting it close, at least within a couple hundred feet or a few hundred feet. I know elevations change as you're hunting, but if you're used to hunting at 1,000 to 1,500 feet and you're going up in the mountains and it's 5, 6, 7,000, probably has a little bit of difference. I would definitely consider changing that. So, all right, coming on down to here, we'll go to the sound barrier. I like to have that on there, especially if shooting lighter, or not subsonic, but slower moving projectiles out to 1,000 yards. It's kind of cool to see that sound barrier on the chart. I like to post 1,000 yard chart range and do them in 50 yard increments. Now you can obviously change this. You can change that chart range to whatever you want. I like 50 yard increments. Basically, it's not too small, not too big. Just makes my chart a little bit smaller, and when I'm looking at the energy on game, 50 yards, if it's 25 yards, sure, whatever, but out to 50 yard increments is usually close enough, especially in a hunting situation, in my hunting situation I should say. So you hit create graph and it spits out this cool little chart, but right here is what you're really looking for. And what I use this for mainly is I like to look for that max point blank range. So, well, it's kind of a version of a max point blank range. So if I'm zeroing this thing at 100 at 0 yards, you know, it's 2 inches different. And if I go out to 300 yards, it's 10-inch difference. So generally they say 8 inches, 8-inch pie plate or whatever, that's your max point blank range. But honestly, in my situation, in most situations that I come up hunting in my area, 250 yards, I'm going to hold dead on every time and just squeeze the trigger. No need to adjust turrets or holdovers or anything. I just know that this thing shoots pretty flat out to 250, and I'm going to hit my target every time. That's the other reason why I went with that second focal plane scope on that 300 short mag, is generally not going to have to dial. Now when I get out here 300, 400, 5, maybe 600 yard, or maybe my shots will be out to 600 yards, then definitely I'm going to dial, and that's what my dope chart would be for. But I don't know very many people who are shooting past 500 yards, if we're being honest, in a hunting situation. You see the videos online, whatever, those are very good shooters, people that practice a lot. The bulk of the people that I interact with on the range, they are not those people, myself included. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody here. I'm just saying to be accurate out to those ranges takes a lot of skill, and knowing your equipment very well. Most people are not. They're coming out for the 9-day gun season and just shooting, sighting it in, and calling 2-3 inch groups at 100 yards close enough, because they know their longest shot's probably only going to be 200 yards and they can still hit their game. So anyway, off my rant there, but that's what I use this chart for. And the other thing I like to look at is the energy on game. If you are concerned about shooting long range and taking whitetail sized game and you use the 1,000 foot-pounds of energy rule of thumb to take game ethically, or take whitetails ethically, it'll give you your max range there. Same thing for elk. If you use the 1,500 foot-pounds of energy, it's the same thing here. So good little tool. You can copy and paste this over into Excel or print it off or however you want and make yourself a nice little dope chart. If you wanted to do if you have a scope that's in MOA or mil, they give you that information here so you know what to dial. I mean, dial 1 MOA, out to 200, 300, whatever. You can have those and highlight them and put them right on your butt. Print this off, tape it to your buttstock. If you got those little tags from, gosh, is it Backfire? Makes those little turret tags. You can put that, 200 yards. There you go. That's what you're dialing. 300 yards. That's what you're dialing. 500 yards. That's what you're dialing. Whether you're in mils or MOA. So, like I said, great tool. It's not perfect. Now, you do need to confirm these if you are actually going to go on a long range hunt, or if you're planning on shooting long range on your hunt. 100% you need to at least test out this theory. It's going to get you close. So maybe your situation, let's say this was actually 9 mils instead of 8.3 or 8.4, or sorry, not mils, MOA. You want to confirm all of these ranges. This will get you darn close, so at least when you're at the range and you're dialing up and you're gonna get on target, you can at least get darn close using this chart. It might be spot on. I don't know. You need to confirm that. So, but anyway, that's the dope chart. Pretty cool. Again, shooterscalculator.com.
Alright, well that's going to do it for this one. I just wanted to show you guys a cool little website that I use to create those dope cards, or compare a couple of rifle calibers or different bullet weights for the same rifle and see how they're going to perform. It's kind of nice to see how the different ballistic coefficients affect them at longer ranges, and you can kind of shoot for a target muzzle velocity if you're hand loading. So hopefully this helps you out on your next hunt, and until next time, we'll catch you guys later.